I'm so happy you're here. I don't want to take a lot of your time, but I'm happy to have one of our speakers and sponsors for Illinois SHRM 13, and that is Paul Hebert. So, without further ado, I'm just going to give you a little introduction here from your LinkedIn profile, Paul, because I'm a dork. I don't know what else to say. Vice President of Solution Design at Symbolist, and you're a blogger. You blog for, you participate in SHRM conferences in Illinois SHRM. You've been to a few times. And tell us a little bit about what you guys do at Symbolist.
Well, first of all, thanks a lot. Really appreciate the opportunity to come and chat with y'all, and I'm really looking forward to being up at the show in was it? Is it October, right?
August.
August. Oh my gosh, I got to start working then. Last year was great. I really enjoyed it. Had a great time speaking and being a part of that crew. So really looking forward. So thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. You know, on these Hangouts, it's a little tough. I keep wanting to look at your face, but then that makes me look like I'm not looking at the camera. So
Right,
I go back and forth a little bit. But Symbolist, what we do is we help companies design programs that connect to their employees emotionally. So a lot of companies now talk about, you know, recognition and rewards and engagement, and we do all of that. I mean, I don't want to try to spin this too much, but we really focus a lot more on the discussion up front that says, okay, what is it about your organization that we can connect to the things your employees find meaning in? Because at the end of the day, no matter what kind of technology or platform I have running, if I'm not connecting with people in a place that they value, then really the rest of that's just window dressing. So we spend a lot of time on the front end looking at what it is about your company that we can help connect meaning to for the employees. Because a lot of times a company will say, this is what we stand for and this is what we believe, and that's great. But there's nobody there helping the employee figure out, well, how does that connect to them? And so part of our process is to create a program or an initiative and a training package that helps do that before we install the system and the technology that actually makes that stuff happen. So yes, we're a reward and recognition company, but we do it a little bit differently.
So do you, in saying that, do you strategically create a plan of action for each individual company, as opposed to just a flat out, this is what you do for each company? Because every company is different, every employee is different. How do you do that?
Well, and that's why we think we're a little bit different in that we don't, you know, everybody's talking about services and software. We've got a software package that you can plug and play and away you go. And a lot of times that's, you know, that'll work, I guess, to some degree. But we don't do it that way. We start with who you are as a company and who your people are. So we go through a whole, you know, design process where we're in there talking to the leadership, trying to figure out what it is they value, what it is the company values, what does the customer find valuable about your customer, your business, and then how do we represent that inside the company? Because the real key is coming up with those symbols, and that hence the name Symbolist, is what are those symbols that people can connect to when they think about your company, both from an employee standpoint, but also a consumer standpoint. You know, I have to believe that other than the Nike swoosh is one thing that's a symbol that Nike employees connect to, but I'm going to guess within their organization there are behaviors that can be symbols, because when you see somebody acting a certain way, that becomes a symbol of who we are as a company. So both good and bad behaviors can be symbols. So we try to create those pieces of connective tissue that allow the employees to now see and feel that emotional connection. A lot of the, you know, we're trying to get away from this, and that's, you know, I'm probably stealing a little thunder from your introduction on my talk at ILSHRM, but, you know, we think that all of this technology that's come around in the last 5 or 10 years is wonderful things. It helps companies buy recognition and rewards easily. It gets it in there. But at the end of the day, if all we're doing is automating a bad thing, we're just doing the bad thing faster and quicker and easier. And what we're seeing is a lot of companies, they're installing these service as a software program simply and easily, but they're just making it worse because they're reinforcing the wrong things. We want to start with, what are the right things to reinforce?
So, I like that, and that's That's really good. I like that you do that. So I want to mention real quickly before we go into a little bit about your session. I don't want to keep this too long, but thank you guys. Symbolist has agreed to sponsor our mobile app for Illinois SHRM this year, and we will get that up on the site real quickly. We're trying to incorporate all the sessions into that before. We appreciate you sponsoring that. Thank you for doing that. So let's little talk. You are speaking at Illinois SHRM again this year, and your title is Humanize Your Employee Engagement. I know you are very passionate about employee engagement. Can you give us a little sneak peek into your session?
Well, yeah, I think so. Yeah, it'll be a sneak peek because I don't want to, first of all, do the whole session here, which I
Right.
probably, I am passionate. I do believe very strongly in the point of view that we're going to bring to the table in August. But the setup for what we're going to talk about is, like I said, we have all this technology out there. And if you think of, I use Facebook as an example because that's pretty universal. Everybody's played with Facebook and they understand Facebook. But if you think about the process that you go through on Facebook and you see somebody update their status and you click like and you scroll down, you see somebody else update something and you click like, and at the end of the day, you've probably clicked 15 or 20 things. But did you really connect with that person, and how much did they really value that click? Over time, I think when it first came out, you were real excited when somebody clicked on your picture and they liked you. Now you get 50 likes, you keep scrolling, nobody pays any attention to it because we've kind of burnt out on that whole connecting because we know how easy it is. And we think that there's so much in the recognition world where now companies have installed these programs. They make it extremely easy for me to recognize you. I can go in, I can click your name, that pulls up your picture. I then click one of 4 buttons. And then if I really don't even know what to say, they have suggested copy that I can copy and paste into that recognition event. And then I hit submit. So the whole process took about 1/10 of 1% of my intellectual capacity to do. And how much of that was authentic and true and genuine? The people selling it will say, well, that's better than nothing. And I would tend to agree. But I think there's a better way by training people and installing systems that don't necessarily allow you to just copy and paste when either you have a reason for recognizing them or you don't. And we want to connect that at a very personal level. So our system doesn't necessarily doesn't let you do that easily. We want to work with you as a company to figure out a better way to do that from a human standpoint. And if you think about it, we're seeing a lot of press just in the last few weeks. So this is kind of supporting my presentation coming in August. I'm really happy about it. Facebook's probably not, but they're talking about people backing away from Facebook, and that the Generation Y, millennials, I'm not a big generational difference guy, but maybe they are the canary in the coal mine as it relates to social networks, is they're pulling away from those now because of the drama and the fact that it's just oversaturating me with information that means nothing. And I think we're going to see similar things happen in our recognition space because if you think about it, for the last 5 years, we've been talking about engagement being a critical factor in business performance, and companies have gone out and bought these systems and put them in place. And what was the last news we got this week? We're at the lowest level of employee engagement since 2008. So how is that possible if we have spent the last 6, 7 years talking about engagement and installing these systems? And I think personally it's because these systems have made it so easy that they didn't change anything. They just made it easy. A lot of people measure how many recognition events occurred within the system. My question is how many recognition events occurred that were good events? I mean, if you're just measuring how many times people clicked a button, is that engagement? That's just using it. I don't think that's engaging with it. But so we're going to talk about what it is that makes people connect to each other on an emotional level. What is that human thing? How is that represented within a recognition and reward program? And how does technology help enable that behavior versus create unintended consequences by enabling behaviors you don't necessarily want or need?
Very good. Yeah, yes. So that reminds me of something I saw on Facebook yesterday. See if I can share this correctly, but it was a huge table with a bunch of chairs around it, and it was talking about the whole engagement thing. We can get so busy with just talking about ourselves or we're not really interested in actually hearing what that other person is saying or doing or thinking about. And I think that's important that we do discuss those things. How do we create that human interaction, especially in the workplace, and not just incorporating new tools that make it faster? What is one thing? Just, I know we're going to walk away with several things from your session, but if you could tell me one thing that we could walk away as an attendee from your session with, what would that be?
That we will be able to identify those skills that your managers need to make the connection more human. So you'll be able to go back and say, these are the 4, 3, 5 things that I have to make sure my managers do, regardless of the system that you have in place. They have to do these 4 things if this is going to be a human connection, an emotional connection. If they don't, then it's just another checkbox. It's just another automated, or what we like to call robo recognition. And it's a click and go. But if your managers do these things, it changes that. You can still do that technologically enabled peer-to-peer kudos form, but if the manager does these 3 or 4 other things, it changes that. Now it becomes a real valuable emotional connection. So transcends the transactional and becomes emotional. But there'll be 4 things that we'll talk about there that managers can do.
All right, we look forward to it, and that session again is on Monday at 3:30 in the afternoon, I believe. And
so drink your coffee. I'm pretty good, yeah. But I want you to stay awake.
Drink your coffee, get all geared up after lunch, and sleep in the session right after lunch. No,
that's right.
But it's Humanize Your Employee Engagement. And Paul, we look forward to seeing you there, and thanks so much for doing this spot.
Oh, love it. Love to support the team up there. You guys are doing great stuff. Thanks a lot. I'm looking forward to it, that's for sure.
We'll see you there.